All right, so we are going to be talking about simple interest. Okay, so as the name suggests, it's pretty simple, and for that reason, if I mean you don't feel like you need the explanation for it, you can just simply right away go ahead and skip this. Okay, but we will have in future compound interest, which is way more interesting, but that's again in future. Right, so let's dig right into it. So in order to find our simple interest I, okay, what we have to do is that we have to take our principal amount p, and we have to multiply it by t, right? That's our time. So if I'm taking loan, let's say for $5,000, right, and I'm taking it for 1 year, so that 1 year is my time, and then I have to look at the rate for which I got the loan, right? So the rate in this case is let's say, I don't know, 8%, for example. Okay, so we will get the rate. But we have to make sure that the rate is in decimal, not in percentage. Okay, so if it is in percentage, and usually it will be, like, most of the times, so we have to divide the rate by 100 to make it a decimal. Okay, so this is how we really go about it. So the formula for simple interest becomes I equals to PTR over 100. P stands for principal amount, T for time, and R for rate. And 100 is just to convert the rate, which is in percentage, to to decimal amount. Okay, so let's take an example. Okay, yeah. Before example, let's look at this. So, for example, we have the time is not given in years. So in that case, we have to make sure that we convert it into years first. Just like we are converting our rate from, for example, percent to decimal. Similarly, we have to make sure the time is also in years. So, for example, we have been given time, which is in, for example, months. Yeah, so in this case we must divide it by 12, because there are 12 days, 12 months in a year, and that will give us our time in years. Similarly, if the time is given in days, we have to then divide it by 365. Yeah, so because there are 365 days in a year, and that will give us our time in years. Okay, so this is something we have to be very careful about, because we can easily make a mistake here, right? So to reiterate this, we have to make sure the time is in years. We have to make sure the rate is in decimal, or if it's not, I mean, if it's in percentage, we have to divide it by 100 in order to convert it into decimal. Okay, so these sort of units are very important. So let's look at an example. Let's look at the formula first. So I equals to PTR over 100. As I said, the rate is usually in percentage. So that is why we need 100 there in order for it to be converted into decimal. But just like in any equation, if we have been given a different variable, and the one which has been asked for is different, we can always manipulate the equation to find what we want. So instead of principal interest, let's say we want the principal amount. Yeah? So what we're going to do is that we will manipulate this equation. So let's say if I want P, I will get rid of the T and R, right? How will I get rid of it? I will take it to the other side, and it will become the denominator, right? The 100 was the denominator, it became the numerator, right? It came to the other side. So this is how now I can simply find the principal amount if I have these three variables given to me. Similarly, I can find the time or the rate as well, given the remaining three values. I have a calculator for you here, but we will look into it after having looked at an example. So let's suppose this example. We have $3,380 of amount, okay, and we have 7% of interest, and it has been taken for 266 days. Yeah, so this is the important part right now. So 7%, that means we have to convert that into decimal, or we need to divide it by 100, okay, which is the same thing. Or but the interesting part is that we have the time given to us in days, not in years. So that means we will have to convert it into years first. So let's look at our equation, I equals to PTR. So what I'm going to do is that I will multiply the principal amount, yeah, by the time, but the time cannot be in days, it has to be in years. So I'm going to divide it by 365 and multiply by the percentage, multiply by the rate. But remember, as I said in the beginning, that rate has to be in decimal, not in percentage. So we have to convert it into decimal first. So we can simply divide it by 100, or to describe it this way, we can just simply move the decimal point, right? So which is, by default in here, okay? We have to move it 2 places to the left. So that's 1 and that's 2, right? So it will just basically become 0.07, and this is what I got here, 0.07. So I have already converted it into decimal, so I don't really need to divide it by 100 anymore, and that is why my formula is simple and it's really not divided by 100. Okay, so you have the choice here, really. All right, so 0.07, I can now simply do the multiplication here. All right, and let's see what I get. So I get 172.43. This is my interest, right? In this case, this was just a simple calculation for simple interest. Let's look at another example. So for example, Anita bought a new computer system, and to pay for the system, she borrowed 5730. So we have been given the amount from the credit union at 8%. So we have been given the rate in percentage, okay, and interest for 20 months. So yeah, it's in months, and we remember we need it um, in terms of years. Okay, so we need to convert these two units and then just simply multiply in together, because we're just simplifying the interest, so we don't really need to manipulate the equation. Okay, so I equals to PTR by 100. In this case, I'm just using the 100 explicitly here, right? uh, um, which is just for the purpose of converting the rate from percentage to decimal. Right, so P would take the place of 5730. We would have to convert the time in months to years, so we'll have to divide it by 12. And we will also have to convert the percentage rate into decimal rate, so we divide it by 100, or we just move the decimal point 2 places to the left, right? And when we do the calculation, we get 764. So that is the interest we are looking for. One more example. So, okay, find the principal amount if rate is 8%, time is 2 years, and interest is 950. Right, so we have been asked for the principal amount. That means we will have to manipulate the equation a bit to find what we're looking for. So let's look at the equation. I equals to PTR, and we are looking for the principal amount, P. So we will need to manipulate the equation. So let's have a look. I equals to PTR, right? In order to find P, what I will simply do is to divide by TR on both sides. Yep, and TR here as well. This TR will cancel with this TR, and I just got I by TR. Yeah, this is what I've got here. Right, now I can just simply plug the values in, 950, right? And the time is already in years, so we don't really need to convert this, but this we do, right? So the percentage is given in of course in percentage, the rate, so we will have to convert this into decimal, and of course to moving the point to 2 decimal points, right? So it become 0.08. Here we have it, and now just we simply do the calculation. So 5937 is the answer in here. Okay, I have another example for you guys. You can, go about it yourself. It's pretty simple. Okay. Um, so just to suggest to you, you can always use Excel as well for this purpose, right? So if we have something like this, in this example, we have been asked for the rate, right? So we will first manipulate the equation, and so this is the equation we've got now, and we can just simply perform the calculation. But it's always helpful to use Excel here as well, because that will give you the skill of sort of translating your equation, which is right here, into an Excel formula or equation, right? So this is how you would write this equation in Excel. Okay, I suggest you study this further. I will also give you some examples that you can play around yourself. Okay, and hopefully, all right. So in here, I suggest that if you can make an Excel worksheet, okay, and put all the formulas already there, right? You know the formula for simple interest now, so that if I go there and I just simply put any of the values that I want, right, it will show me the unknown values, right? So put the formula in all of its forms, right? So we have a total of uh, um, four values, right? So if I have three of the values, I can always find the fourth value. Okay, so if you can make this sheet, that would be really good. You can show it to me for feedback. So I have a sample for you here, right? So this is how it should probably look like. Okay, you can always be creative about it, but this is the basic idea. Okay, so if I need to find any of these blank spaces, right, I should be able to find it, and the formulas for it should be implemented. Okay, so that would be it for simple interest. Okay, and I'll be back with more topics and concepts.